TechnoWizard, and today we're going to continue my read through of my newsletter talking about how to change the world for the better. A kind of news story of humanity based on my readings and learnings and ideas over the past year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years or so, maybe even lifetime. Has a little bit of all these, my entire discography of learning in one place, somewhat. But last time we covered what did we cover? This section, which is going over my yeah, right, my story, my credentials, uh why I think I can help change the world. And I just went into my story a little bit in regards to um the fact that I've been thinking about this for a very, very long time, right? Since I was in third grade at least, been thinking about different ways to change the world and things like that. So I built up a lot of this backlog of ideas and lessons or learnings around this. So this is a short section, just like a little disclaimer, going over why I spent so long writing this newsletter, and maybe even I think it goes into why I wrote this somewhat. I don't know. We'll get into it, but I'm only gonna read this section because again I want to keep this short, under 10 minutes or so, or around 10 minutes. Since it is short, I'll probably do a little bit more director's cut, if you will. But during the next I won't. So yeah, let's get into it. Disclaimer. Over the past few months, I have been procrastinating terribly on this newsletter. Whole weeks went by where I didn't even touch this document, even though I was thinking and talking about this topic everywhere else. I kept scaring myself because I felt like I was missing key details or didn't have a full enough story. I was worried that I couldn't do this. Who was I to make such a broad yet detailed theory about why the world is so fucked up and how can we fix it? Why would anyone listen? Who cares what the fuck I think, right? Little cuss words in there just to show the emotion I'm going through here. I still get uncomfortable saying curse words, but for no other reason than because personally feel just awkward of it coming out of my mouth. Like I don't have a cool mouth. Like I'm so weird and nerdy. Um, it just doesn't feel right coming out my mouth. I just feel like it doesn't roll right with me, but I do think it's appropriate, right? There's appropriate times to use it. In fact, I just unrelated to this why I put it in this specific moment, but I just heard or just watched a video from I forgot what she was, a doctor or something. I think a psychologist or linguist or something like that. But she was talking about how um, cuss words and swear words and things like that are actually uh, very, very often good for our brain, right? It's a form of expressing pain, building trust, and so on and so forth. It was a very interesting video. I'll link it in the comments below in the description. But anyways, yeah, like for those that don't know, I started this newsletter about halfway through the year last year, in 2021. So I was trying to do it like 2 times a month, and I think I did a couple. Let me see if I can show here. Actually, yeah, boom, boom. So yeah, you can see my start ones, introduction, dire problems. So I started in July, and then a couple weeks later, a couple days later, the 26th, and then August 10th, 23rd, the 9th of September, and then January. you see, you see this huge gap. This is when I was started to write this newsletter. I was thinking I was gonna, week by week or every 2 weeks or something like that. I was gonna share my thoughts on, what I was thinking about about the world and how to, build things and stuff like that. And then it was just week by week. I was just, man, I put this in here. And then I was like, oh man, what about this? And I started researching things. And I was like, wait, what if I'm wrong about this? And I started researching things. But wait, this source might be wrong. Like this source, I found out that some of these sources were wrong. So I started backtracking the sources I had in there. And it was just, was going all over the place. Um, so that's why it took me so long to really do this newsletter. So this is where that disclaimer came from. And furthermore, knowing that I didn't go to college, right? I never went to college. I'm not a very experienced person. I'm still technically new in my career, even though I've been working since, high school. But I'm no experienced, I'm no expert in my field or anything like that. Um, and even if I was, UX design has, very little to do with archaeology, even though there are some a little bit of cross, stuff like that, or anthropology. But I want to do it. I had a lot of ideas, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh man, that's interesting," So that's why I wanted to do it. Anyways, I had to remember why I'm even doing this letter to figure it the fuck out. Exactly, right? There's a lot of stuff I just wanted to learn. So because I care, because this is how I do my part to help fix the world. I don't have all the answers, though I do think I have some. I don't have the full story, but no one does. I probably will make mistakes, big and small, but that's all the part of the learning process. Part of me wanted to make this a well cited research paper, right? But that's not what this newsletter is about. It's simply about me learning out loud, figuring out how to change the world and what role, big or small, I can play in that. And that's more true now than it ever was before, right? Like I really want to do my part to change the world for the better. And I get really frustrated when people say, "Oh, there's nothing we can do. This we have to it's up to the big corporations or it's up to that person." Okay, but what about accountability, right? Like what can we do as an everyday individual, to do it? And even if it's just doing this, just blogging, just making content, just sharing ideas and learning, I think that's better than doing nothing, right? Because not only when you don't learn about this stuff, when you don't take your time to wonder, okay, how does this work in the world? Why is this the way it is? Not only are you ignorant, but you also become a barrier to progress, right? To meaningful change because then you're supporting incremental, bullshit, reformations and, whatever the politics are saying. You just think, oh, that person thinks sounds like they have a good idea. Let's do it. Let's listen to them. But if you never actually research things yourself, then you don't realize how wrong you are, how wrong they are. And so not only are you ignorant, but you're becoming a part of the problem. So this is why I think it's super important for each and every one of us, right? To do this research. Doesn't matter who you are, if you ever went to college, if this stuff is over the top of your, just find stuff, part of this stuff that's interesting, go watch YouTube channels like freaking St. Andrewism or Our Climate in Action or whatever it's called, Climate Town, all these, there's some really great channels out there. Echo Gecko, Not for Bikes, I could put a whole bunch. Go to this newsletter, go all the way down to the sources and just go through those channels and see what works for you. But yeah, man, we can't sit back. There's too much happening. Um yeah, more than anything else in this world, I want to figure out how to change it for the better. I simply can't sit back and accept our doom or expect someone else to fix it. I see so many things that are left unsaid or unheard that really should be said and heard more. I see so many solutions that don't even recognize the true scope of the problem. I see way too many people completely lost and depressed, jaded and cynical, or even hateful and gleeful for the apocalypse. I refuse to be any of those people. I was those people, no more. Right. And this is big for me because as a person, like I was like, oh yes, I'm gonna be the trillionaire. I'm gonna be the biggest I'm gonna play the capitalist game, right? Then I realized, oh, this whole thing is terrible. Like, and even before that time, right? I was extremely depressed throughout most of high school because I was always aware, like, how much I want to change the world and how unskilled I was and how unconnected I was. So I became very bitter and cynical. All those, Reddit things and all this other stuff. That's like, oh, the world's terrible. There's no way we can fix it. Just work for capitalism or this, that, and the other. Yeah, I was one of those people, right? I was like, oh yeah, whatever. We go with capitalism or nothing really matters or this, that, and the other. I was all of this, right? A lot of it. And it's it doesn't bring you anywhere. It doesn't bring you any closer. It doesn't make you feel any better. It just makes things worse. Um, and this part too, I want to touch on a little bit is that people don't recognize the true scope of the problem. Right? People think, oh, it's just bad laws. It's just not enough regulations. Right? It's just if we regulate the companies more, then we can fix it. No, that's not going to solve it. Right? And you see that because today we have a lot more regulations than ever before. And granted, there are some areas, don't get me wrong, in which we need more regulations, definitely. but still there are more regulations today, and there is still a huge amount of corruption and bullshit and just terrible stuff going on. Because the problem is not on this top level of regulations and things. It's at the bottom level of capitalism, patriarchy, racism, things like that. Um, and really, I think hierarchy. This is what I'm going to get into my thing. I think hierarchy is the underlying principles here. Anyways, the point of this is to do what I can to show why we must do better and how we can do better. And by golly, I will. I wanted to fit that in. I thought it was so funny. I'm going to do better myself to be more consistent with these releases for no other reason than it helps me feel better about putting my knowledge to use and erring on the side of practicality rather than pure theory. I want to be action oriented about this rather than keeping everything in my head. I want to produce just as much as I consume, if not a bit more. I hope you will too. And I think I have gotten better with this. I haven't been posting on my newsletter as much, but I still do post on my audio journal podcast and my lessons into reading anarchy and reading philosophy and things like that on my YouTube channel, which I think has helped me to continue my learning. I started to join Discord communities to try and have conversations with other people, see what other people think and get out of my own head. I started to join like the local community building organizations, um, but they usually kind of meet physically, so that's been difficult for me. But I'm trying to do more, right? Do more in the real world. But this theory still goes a long way, and learning lessons from people goes a long way. Please be patient with me if this sort of thing intrigues you. I'm sure I make mistakes here, repeat myself too many times, go on far too going for far too long, yeah, and or miss some important perspectives. But this is just one of many attempts, although it ended up being one of my more ambitious ones, indeed it has, to figure out the story of humanity. I had a lot of research in mind, but didn't want to spend yet more time tracking everything down, vetting it, and so on. Nor did I write this all in any real order. I kind of just put down a number of thoughts I've had throughout my learnings over the past few years, for often reordering, expanding, and even cutting things out. If you have thoughts, please feel free to share them in the comments as you go or below this YouTube video, or keep them to yourself until the end, or just come to my stream and let's talk. I'm open to the possibility of being wrong and welcome the dialectic. I love that word. Thanks for taking the time to read this at all. Without further ado, let's begin. And that's where we end for today's video. Super excited to get into this next video though, this next couple series, because this is where I really get into, the article. And just this debunking human nature, this was so fun for me, and it has like really changed my paradigm. So I hope it will for you as well. But we'll get into that in the next video. Um, Again, if you have any thoughts or concerns or anything like that, put it in the comments. I'm gonna try to do these videos for my newsletter Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and then Thursdays or Thursdays and Fridays is either anarchy or philosophy. Um, so yeah, I'll be posting videos on pretty much every day of the week, trying to get this stuff out here. Keep learning and growing. So as always, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and have a great day. See ya. Bye bye.